And now, God, open my mouth so that I can speak. Open our ears so that we can hear, and open our hearts so that we can change. By your power and through your grace. Amen. Please be seated. Last night, I sat in my chair during our magnificent service of Tenebrae and was startled by the urgency of the choir as they sang out, "Crucify him, let him be crucified." It was jarring. Somehow, along my Lenten journey, I think I actually allowed myself to forget the tragedy that was about to happen. I haven't been able to stop thinking about that. I don't mean that I'd lost sight of where things were going in the midst of all the planning and executing of Holy Week and Lent. I mean, I haven't been able to stop thinking about what will happen to Jesus tomorrow. Tomorrow, we will see him beaten and bloody and hung on a cross. We know it's coming, even if we don't always want to think about it. But we know, so in some way, we're prepared. And tonight, we hear the Jesus story from John, who makes it very clear to us that Jesus knows too. And it's precisely because John makes such an effort to make sure we know that Jesus knows and understands it all, that as we gather on this night, and in some way pray that we can avoid the tragedy of tomorrow, we must pay careful attention to everything that's happening. Nothing about this night is casual for Jesus. How could it be? Time is running out, and there's no more time for metaphors and parables, no more time for sermons and standoffs. There may not have been a clock ticking on that fateful night, but Jesus knows that every beat of his heart is one beat closer to its last. He knows all of this, but they don't. They still don't get so much. Even if they did understand the things that things were about to get more complicated, they were in no way prepared for what was about to happen. They certainly weren't expecting such an epic betrayal to come from among them. And there was no way they could conceive that the one they had been following, the one for all the things they didn't understand about him, believed him to be the Messiah, would be humiliated and hanging on a cross in just a matter of hours. So what to do? Jesus gathers his closest friends for dinner. As we know, big things happen around the dinner table. It's the place where so many of us have experienced big moments in our lives. Maybe you got engaged or told your parents they were going to be grandparents. Or maybe it's where you got to know your family's stories. Or where you all gathered and left an empty chair as you grieved the loss of someone who would no longer fill it. Or maybe it's where we spent the evening before our lives changed for one reason or another: college, marriage, moving. So it makes sense that if Jesus has only one night left, he would want to spend it at table with those whom he loved. John doesn't tell us anything about the meal itself, not really. While we focus this night on a commemoration of the Last Supper and the institution of what we know as Eucharist, John does not give us any of the familiar "this is my body, this is my blood" language that we all know. John lets Jesus be direct with his actions and his words. There is nothing vague in what Jesus does at this moment, and we need to pay attention. When Jesus got up from the table, you can be pretty sure that no one was expecting him to wash anyone's feet. Now, I know this is the part where everyone starts to get uncomfortable because feet are messy and not always pretty, and they show the wear and tear on our bodies and the lives we live in ways that other parts of our bodies just don't. Perhaps that's why the washing of feet was left to slaves. But just as we have seen over and over again, Jesus did not let anything stop him from serving and loving others. And at this specific moment, he certainly was not going to let some calluses or bad pedicures prevent him from making his point. So he wraps himself in a towel, gets down on the ground, and washes the feet of his disciples. One final act of care and service, which must have seemed so strange to them, yet carried the entire weight and summary of his ministry in one simple act. We only hear about Peter's reaction, and as per usual, Peter is all over the place. First, he resists. You will never wash my feet. And then in an instant, don't wash just my feet, my head, my hands, all of me. What Peter still doesn't get is that it's not about how clean or unclean he was. It was about Jesus serving him. It was about Jesus serving all of them, including Judas, who, for the record, is still in the room, and Jesus knows that he is about to betray him. The others may not know at this moment what Judas is about to do, but soon they will, and they will know that Jesus knew, and he still washed Judas's feet. The only thing that could rob Judas's betrayal of its power, even if it couldn't stop the events that it would trigger, was Jesus' unrelenting love and willingness to offer forgiveness. That unrelenting love was there for everyone in that room that night, and it is here in this one now, and that love is there for all of humanity in all of its messiness and all of its diversity, because that is how the love of God works. And let me tell you something, I am speaking to each one of you tonight. That love is here in this room for all of you. Judas will ultimately pay the price for his actions, but it won't be because Jesus withheld and stopped loving. I believe he does this because we don't get to decide who deserves to be served and who does not, period. And Jesus needed to make sure his disciples understood that. And so tonight, my friends, this message is also for us. Tonight, we are the ones in the room with Jesus. We are the ones who need to be reminded of this point. We are the ones who need to be washed, but also we are the ones who need to do the washing. He literally said it when he finishes, "For I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you." Can there be any question of what that means? In the last part of the reading tonight, he gives them a new commandment, to love one another just as they have been loved by him. By his act of washing their feet, thus modeling a radical act of service and the institution of a new commandment. He inextricably links unrelenting, wide open agape love and radical self-sacrificing service together, binding them in a covenant through those who gathered in that room that night and through us tonight, all of us. They lived in difficult times. We live in difficult times. People are divided. People are oppressed. People are excluded. War and terror rage around the globe. Innocent people are killed from senseless gun violence, like the two who lost their lives at FSU today on this holy day when we are being commanded to love one another. This was not easy work then, and it's certainly not easy work now. And still, this is the work Jesus calls us to do, not because it's easy, but because it is the key to our survival. It is time for us to change. It is time for us to think more about serving than being served. We've been trying it the other way around for centuries, and it has never worked out in the long run. Bishop Andy Doyle reminds us that in a miraculous way, beyond all that pulls at our church, all the works that destroy and condemn us, all that we do to one another in word and action, in our most broken and most divided, it is tonight, this holy night, that we pause and remember to love and forgive. We pause to put down our destruction and remind ourselves of the service and hospitality of our God. We remind ourselves that it is God's grace and love which unites us to one another and into the family of God. It is God's love which binds us forever. And so it is on this night that we are challenged to be a better people, a loving people, a hospitable people, a kind people. This is our work, should we choose to follow. Time is running out. If you listen carefully, you can hear Jesus' heartbeat. There are only so many heartbeats left. Soon they will be shouting, "Crucify him! Let him be crucified!" Before tomorrow is over, that beating will be silenced. And the work really will be ours to do. Because the hard truth is, tomorrow is coming, whether we want it to or not.